Hello, and welcome to our summer webinar series. Today we share part 3, Building and Maintaining Strong Parent Connections. Just a reminder, this is a pre-recorded webinar co-sponsored by Sanford Inspire and Sanford Harmony. You can view it at any time, and we encourage you to share it with your colleagues. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker, Shalonda Soroyer, who is the International Teacher Award winner and president of Soroyer Educational Consulting.
Thank you, Amanda. I am so excited to be here today offering the third part of our series because I really think we have hit the top 3 things that all of you all are likely dealing with at the beginning of the school year. So please don't forget to go back and watch parts 1 and 2 because they really do work beautifully together. As Amanda mentioned, I am the International Teacher Award winner. I am also the only educator to consistently share the stage with Drs. Harry and Rosemary Wong. And for those of you all who don't know Harry and Rosemary, they are the authors of The First Days of School. This is likely the book that most of you all are familiar with if you've been teaching for a while. I can tell you, I never had a single classroom management course in my whole undergraduate career. So if you've never been taught how to be a classroom manager, don't feel bad, all right? It is something that you can learn. And so this is the book that I used to set up my classroom. Had an amazing first year of teaching and never looked back. This is the 4th edition of the book. There's a DVD of what I talk, there's a whole DVD of me talking about what I do in my classroom in the back of the 4th edition. However, the 5th edition is out now, so that's super exciting. If you were to order the book, you would also get a DVD of William Martinez and an amazing and inspirational sign language presentation about the importance of teachers and our noble profession. And then this is the classroom management book. It's the latest book that Harry and Rosemary Wong have written. I am one of several contributing authors. So if you find that you have any questions about anything in the presentation or in the books, feel free to email me. My email was on the first slide, and I'll also share it with you on the last slide. So let's go. Part 3, building and maintaining strong parent connections. I really cannot say enough how important this is. Every person in your classroom is coming from a very unique home environment. Their home environment is shaping their value for education. It's shaping their thoughts about you at times. You know, they go home and they talk to their parents about the teachers, and the parents give them advice about what to do in the classroom. So it only makes sense that you as a teacher would very purposefully develop a strong relationship with parents. So I'm going to make sure that I share this information with you, but I also want to encourage you to pause, to go back and look at the information. So I won't read every slide to you, but I purposely put lots of information on the slides so that you will have access to that information post our time together today. So in parts 1 and 2, I talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And, you know, I'm sure that most of you all are familiar with the hierarchy, but I want us to just look at the different layers when we think about parents, right? Because you think about those basic needs, they're dependent on parents for that, right? Their general safety outside of school, that's their parents. Their sense of belonging, which they may or may not be getting from home, depending on the type of environment you're in. Many of you all may have students that are coming to you from foster parent homes. I want you to really think about that and how that kind of changes the dynamic and some things that you may need to know before you call home and handle situations a little differently. And all of those things ultimately affect their self-esteem. And it's not until all of those things are addressed that they can actually get to the point where they're learning. So I wanted to make sure that I took just a moment to help you understand the connection between parent connections and learning, even in high school. High school teachers, come on, we sometimes drop off. I taught high school English, so I know it's easy to drop off and see them as, you know, big kids and I shouldn't have to call home, but it absolutely is very important that even at that age, you establish those relationships. So research shows, I will read this one, that because there are many diverse types of families, right? We talked about foster parents. We have students who may be raised by their grandparents. In high school, you may have students who are being raised by different family members. There also have to be many levels and types of parental involvement. So with that, let's hit it. I'm going to give you 4 different types of parental involvement. And like I said, the information is going to be up here. I'll talk a little bit about them, but I really want you to focus on being able to pause and go back and get the information, because that's the joy of having a pre-recorded session. You can do that. And then of course you can email me with any questions that you may have. So let's start with parenting. As you can see, the role of the parent in the school is here on the screen. Won't read that to you, but what I do want you to think about is how you can help parents support their students, right? So just brainstorm for a moment. Pause this at this point, and I want you to do the brainstorming activity, right? So it would be great if you'd actually pause now before I give you the suggestions, just to kind of see what you come up with. So the suggestions, how about you ask parents to set aside a specific time for doing homework? That may seem like common sense to many of us, but many parents would appreciate that. Asking parents to read for 30 minutes a day and to limit the interaction with technology. What about volunteering? Now, this is really an interesting one because many teachers, many parents do not necessarily see volunteering at the school as something that matters one way or the other. I think when I was in school, volunteering was pretty much going on the field trip to the zoo or baking things for the bake sale. I mean, that's pretty much what it boiled down to. And there are so many different ways to encourage volunteering. Let's move into this new age of involving parents. So as you can see here, the school's role is to help all parents find ways to participate. And the reason I say all parents is because many working parents are just not available during school hours, right? I mean, if I work a 9-to-5 job, I'm not able to volunteer in the traditional way. And I also want to be involved in my students or my child's education, because kids feel good when their parents volunteer, right? So it benefits all of us to come up with unique ways to welcome the volunteer efforts of all parents. So again, I'd like for you to pause at this moment and do the brainstorming activity and see what you come up with. But of course, I'm going to give you some suggestions, but I think you'll get the most out of this if you pause for a moment and come up with some things that may work in your school, right? Because I'm just giving you suggestions. Everything doesn't work for everybody everywhere. So make sure you really stop and think about some things that may work for you. So here's some suggestions for unique volunteering activities. A classroom assistance program. So maybe hold weekly volunteer sessions in the evening, right? So maybe you have evening events that you can invite parents to come. Like for instance, my children's school and my school, we had an amazing Festival of Nations. Hands down, my favorite event all year long, where students were encouraged to come dressed in their traditional garb, and then the parents got to come and, you know, bring food or had the food catered from their different backgrounds. It was just an amazing opportunity to feature in all of the diversity that existed in the school and to get kids excited about it. So another way you can do this, teachers who need materials photocopied, you can have think about it, all those things that you stay after school to do, you can have a table with all the supplies, you can have the photocopy machine in the room, you can have the laminator, parents can come after work, and hey, in an hour, you've got a week's worth of cutouts done, right? So that's something to think about. Obviously, none of that can be personal information. This is things like for elementary school teachers, bulletin boards and those types of things. And they're always provided with the equipment that they need for those things. You can develop a VIP, volunteers and partnership program. I love this. Parents can sign up to tutor, run papers, hang up bulletin boards. And again, they can do these things maybe on their off days. Maybe they work on the weekends, but they're off on Wednesdays, right? So they can come in on Wednesday and help you with those things. Or you could organize a Sparkle Day. Ask local businesses to donate items. Students can paint murals in your classrooms, on your bulletin boards. Some parents may wish to help with outside landscaping to spruce the school up. These are all just suggestions, ideas for ways and ways for students and parents to be involved in non-traditional ways. If you have broken desks, you may have a handy dad, right, that can come and help out. There are so many different ways for parents to volunteer and feel involved, because I'm telling you, students are so proud when they can say, oh, my dad did that, or my mom did that, or my grandmother, or my aunt, or my brother, or whoever. It really adds another level of family to the school, a sense of belonging in that hierarchy of needs. So some more suggestions: duty-free lunch. They can donate extra clothes and shoes that they may have if you have a population of students that would benefit from that. This is a great one. So tutor teachers and parents in English and Spanish, meaning if you have Spanish speaking students and you have other parents that may want to learn Spanish, or other students that may want to learn Spanish, those parents can come in and help with that. Brown bag assistance. Let me talk to you a little bit about that. Let's back up here. Brown bag assistance is a twist on the volunteer night, where the parents come to the school and they help with the cutouts. So think about it this way. What if a parent doesn't have transportation? Okay, because that's a real possibility. They can't make it to volunteer night, but they still want to feel involved. You can take the things that need to be cut out. You can put them in a brown bag, staple it, send it home. The parent can do that at their leisure when they get off of work, whenever. They can cut out all the things that you need cut out. They can put them back in the brown bag, and then the student can bring those back to you. So that's where you're really just being creative. And they can also help you translate things. So a Spanish-speaking parent may help you translate a newsletter or a web page. Really just interesting, creative things. Okay, learning at home. What does that look like? So you may say, how can I help in this role? I know it seems a little fuzzy here, but there are many schools, especially in Title I schools, where they offer parent education courses and GED courses for parents. So the learning at home is not just the child learning, but the learning is extended into the home for parents who may or may not be able to assist in the typical ways. So again, I would like for you to press pause here and come up with some things that you think would be great. And with that, I'll give you some suggestions. So maybe create a parent room, right, where the parents can come and gather different, different resources that they can use. So they can sign up for tutoring classes, cooking classes, all types of things that they can use to extend their learning as well. Or you can teach them how to create learning opportunities, right? So talk to them about when they're doing these things with their children. When they're cooking, have the child read the recipe, have them measure the ingredients. When they're doing the laundry, all different things that things that they're going to do anyway. That's the key here, right? You're not asking parents to add something on top of what they're already doing. These are just suggestions on top of what they're doing anyway. And then you have the last one, which is communicating, right? And we all know this is a big one, right? You got to communicate with parents. And though I'm going to put this information up here fairly quickly, we all pretty much know what the traditional ways are to communicate with parents. But I would think that you want to start by making sure you understand their preferred method of communication, right? Not all parents have access to all types of resources. So you want to talk to them and make sure that they actually have access to what you're trying to use to communicate with them. And then you want to make sure that your interactions are a two-way street. So when you have conference room meetings, try not to have all the teachers lined up on one side and the parents lined up on the other side. Something as simple as a round table where the teachers, the optics of that says that we're a team versus us against you. You want to be mindful of all the acronyms and the educational lingo that you're using in meetings. And when you're requesting a signature, really take the time to explain and make sure that they understand, and make sure that you're listening actively during phone conversations with parents. So those are just some of the things that you want to be mindful of. And all know that the parents that show up for conferences are not the only ones that care about their children. There are many reasons why they may or may not be showing up. So know that even the most involved parents will slack off when a teacher is not effectively communicating. So always remember, productive collaborations between family and school will demand that parents and teachers recognize the critical importance of each other's participation in the life of the child. That is something that I really would like for you to ponder on. It is a partnership, and it can be a beautiful partnership done correctly. So That's the end of our 3-part series. Once again, I encourage you to go back and also look at my email address if you have any questions. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Shalanda, for sharing your valuable insights. And we do encourage you to go back and watch part 1 and part 2, and please share with your colleagues because there are such valuable lessons that'll be great reminders for kicking off your inspirational school year. Thank you all for viewing today's webinar. This concludes our summer webinar series. Registered users, you will soon be sent a link with a brief survey to share feedback about this webinar series and our format for the series. We value your input as this helps us plan our future webinars. Thank you so much for taking the time to complete the survey. We hope you all have an inspirational start to the school year.